Thank you for coming. My name is ACCE. I'm the VP looking after education and counseling. We won't be introduce the president of the Association of Chinese Canadian Entrepreneurs, Mr. Alan Kwong. Alan Kwong is also the president of Parapan-Am Technology. Okay, Mr. Alan Kwong.
Well, thank you for coming out here this evening for this networking sessions. ACCE have this networking session about 3-4 times a year. And of course, we get a special theme this evening with the Parapan-Am 2015. For those of you who are familiar, I know that I've seen many familiar faces. Some of you might not be familiar. ACCE, we are basically Association of Chinese Canadian Entrepreneurs, and our mission is to recognize some of the accomplishments of the Chinese Canadian entrepreneurs, encourage business startup, and also to promote social responsibility. Thank you this evening, for this event, especially to our partner, Centennial College, and also our title sponsor, RBC, for making this possible. Tonight, I think like Alice said earlier, we get, in addition to ACCE, we have invited 15 other business associations to be here this evening from the members, because to hear one of the misperception that a major sport event like Parapan-Am 2015 is only reserved for multinational. I hope that, as I talk to some speakers, I hope that our perception will be changed after this information sessions. I'm not going to talk anymore, but on the other hand, I'd like some of you to get familiar with ACCE, especially for some of you who are here the first time, because I definitely would like to encourage you to become members of ACCE. But because before I do my selling pitch, I'd like to show you the video of ACCE. It's the video that we make for the 15th anniversary gala, just for last year. Okay, so 5 minutes of commercial, and then we'll move on to the major event.
Now tonight we are very honored to have the Centennial as our partner. Centennial College has been partnering with our ACCE for over 10 years. We have a lot of mutual interaction, and tonight's facility, as you can see, is a nice, beautiful facility for us. So without further ado, can I introduce Vicky? Vicky Bismillah is the Centennial College VP for Academic and Chief Learning Officer.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Centennial College. I extend a welcome from our president, Ann Buller, and from all of us here at Centennial College. We're very, very proud of our partnership with the Association of Chinese Canadian Entrepreneurs. And as you know, our Center for Entrepreneurship has been partners, as you just heard, for 10 years. But we've also really appreciated the fact that the ACC has helped our students, our business students, find placements as well. But in addition to that, Centennial College is the only college in all of Canada that teaches a compulsory social justice course to our diploma students. Our students cannot graduate without that global citizenship, equity, and inclusion course. And as entrepreneurs, you know that in the business world, an understanding of various cultures and various differences and similarities are really, really important. So our graduates are top-notch, and that is my plug for our graduates. We train 70% of the professionals that you will meet in your lives, in your daily lives. We outstrip the universities in training the professionals that we need in a democracy, from nurses and paramedics and police, encounters that you have with journalists, with engineering technologists and technicians, with all of our business graduates. So the colleges are really the backbone of training professionals for a democracy. And so welcome, entrepreneurs, and I hope you have a terrific evening today, and we are just so proud that Centennial was able to host you tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. our other sponsor, the major sponsor, is RBC Canada. So can I introduce Mr. Edward Hill? He's also one of the VP of ACCE. So apart from ACCE, we also have over 15 other organizations joining our event tonight. Some of their president is not available tonight, but for those who has been available, can I invite you to come over so we can acknowledge you and we will take a group picture with our president, Alan Kwong. So I can see here Mr. Bambi Wong from Asian Business Network Association. Bambi, come on down, please. And I also see Mr. Andy Merchant from the Canada-Pakistan Business Council. Mr. Jason Lee from Enterprise Toronto. Mr. Eddie Jagan from Kennedy Road Business Improvement Area. Mr. Stephen Ju from Mississauga Chinese Business Association. Stephen. Mr. Ben Hum from North American Association of Asian Professionals. Ben, come down. Mr. Johnny Shou from Scarborough York Region Chinese Business Association. Mr. Benson C from the Taiwan Entrepreneur Society, Taipei, Toronto.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Please be seated. For those president of the other association, thank you all for your support. Okay, now here, last but not the least, I'm going to introduce a speaker for tonight's seminar. We have 4 speakers, so I'm going to introduce the 4 speakers together, and then we will invite the speaker and take a group picture before the actual info session starts. Our first speaker will be Mr. Ian Chu. Wow, it's a long bio, so I just pick a few of those to introduce to you. Mr. Chu is the CEO of this organizing committee of the Toronto 2015 Pan-Am Games. Mr. Chu himself is a multinational business builder. He has 28 years of senior operating experience in many multinational big corporations, to name a few, like the Procter & Gamble, Conrad Foods International, and also, before he joined the organizing committee of Pan-Am Games 2015, he's also the operating advisor to this Ontario Municipal Employee Retirement System. Apart from his senior management position, he's also an athlete, a sportsman. He himself, in high school, is already the athlete of the year at his high school. In university, he's the Ontario University Athletes All-Star in 1981. With his passion in sports and also his senior management experience, so he's the man leading this organizing committee to organize the 2015 Toronto Pan-Am Games. Thank you, Ian. Our next speaker will be Mr. Bill Sakharov. He's the Director of Procurement. So tonight, every one of you, please remember to contact him, get his link up. Okay, he's the Director of Procurement for the Pan-Am Games 2015. Mr. Sakharov has 20 years of progressive procurement experience. He has been working with L'Oréal Network, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and Seymour. And in Toronto 2015, he's operating a budget of 600 million, or maybe more, maybe less, I don't know the update. So we are going to listen to your update to it. And he's going to introduce us a fairness system for the procurement. It will be transparent, and he will develop a supplier diversity program for us. So we are looking forward to your introduction. So please come over, Mr. Sakharov. And then we have our third speaker, Mr. John McKendrick, the Senior VP of Project Delivery of Infrastructure Ontario. Mr. McKendrick, he has been working with different hospital, courthouse, a data center, and also the MTO Highway Service Center. He has 17 years of experience working with the provincial government, and also he was the Assistant Deputy Minister in the previous Ministry of Public Infrastructure renewal. Now it's called the Infrastructure Ontario. So can I introduce Mr. McKendrick? Okay, last but not least, we have Mr. Paul Saunders. He's the president of the MERIX network. I'm not sure if everyone of you is aware of the MERIX. It's a system provides you lots of information to do business with our government and other procurement. So, Mr. Paul Saunders, he has been the president of this and CEO of the Coast Software. He has been the senior executive in other big IT companies like the Condos Inc., like the Linkage Software. He has a lot of experience working with different federal, provincial, municipal, and local government, not only in Canada, but also in the state. So he would improve the system access for every single one of you to access the information and get in touch with the Pan-Am Games. Okay, can I introduce Mr. Saunders? Can you please come over? Okay, thank you, everyone. Can I invite Ian? I'll pass the podium to you.
Well, thank you, Elliot, for that introduction. It's a great pleasure to be here. I thank you all for coming. I also want to thank Centennial for providing such great facilities for us today. You know, I think our team has been out probably doing about 20 of these over the last year across Southern Ontario, and we do believe it's just such an important part of making sure everybody who wants to be part of these games has the opportunity to be part of these games. It's also great to be here in the Year of the Dragon. And I understand that it's the luckiest year in the Chinese zodiac, characterized by ambition and a willingness to take risks and show passion. These are certainly some of the same qualities that led me to take on the role of CEO of the Parapan-Am Games. And I also believe that it describes quite well the characteristics of many of you in this room today. So I want to talk to you and provide an introduction before my colleagues give you more perspective, but I want to talk to you about the vision for Toronto 2015 Pan and Parapan-Am Games. A vision that makes the Games a catalyst for opportunities with businesses of all types, sizes, and every sector. Perfect. The Toronto 2015 Games will be the largest multi-sport games that Canada has ever hosted, significantly larger than what we can recall with the last major games we've had in Canada, Vancouver 2010 Winter Olympics. Vancouver had 20 sports and 9 venues. The plan for Toronto 2015 includes 48 sports and 43 venues. Compared to Vancouver's 7,000 athletes and officials, our games will involve more than 10,000. The 1976 Montreal Summer Olympics, which some of you may remember, in comparison had 6,000 athletes competing in 21 sports and 20 venues. So when you look at these numbers, you can conclude, and you must conclude, our games are big, and they're very important. I am here today to paint you a picture of how we're laying the groundwork for this much anticipated event. My goal is to inform and educate. I want to ensure that as things progress, you know everything that you need to know so that you can say the Pan Am Games are a great business opportunity. Here's how I'm going to get involved. As business people, you all know that a successful business venture begins with a vision. Our vision is that Toronto 2015 will use the power of sport. Use the power of sport to inspire, to engage, and to transform our communities. The athletes in the competition will inspire us and inspire our children to dream great dreams. Our games will reflect our proud multicultural heritage. This is where we hope to engage our communities, both here and abroad. And importantly, our games will transform this region, most obviously through much-needed investment in new and renovated sports infrastructure. These facilities will provide an opportunity for both elite and recreational athletes. Think of it as an active legacy in both renewed commitment towards healthy lifestyles and a long-term infrastructural benefit to our community. The social and economic impact of these games to transform our region is simply immense. Toronto 2015 will generate close to $2 billion in economic activity and attract 1 million tourists who will attend our region and enjoy staying at our hotels, eating at our restaurants, and visiting our numerous attractions. Our budget itself is $1.4 billion. It includes more than $700 million of upgraded and newly constructed sports venues. Some of our major projects not far from here include the Aquatic Center in Scarborough, the Athletic Center in York University, Stadium in Hamilton, and a pool and field house in Markham, which will be the home for water polo, badminton, and table tennis during the games. The other $700 million of our budget is allocated to operations, which covers everything involved with running the organization and staging the games. Oh, and let's not forget the $1 billion that is being invested in the West Don Lands community, which is where the Athletes Village will be during games time and will become a beautiful community just to the east of the Distillery District as a fantastic active legacy after the games. All told, more than 15,000 jobs will be generated from this investment, which will cover many sectors, including construction, manufacturing, vendors, production, and many, many more. In addition, more than 20,000 volunteers will be needed to ensure the games are a success. And these volunteers become our active face of our community as we showcase our best to the world. Very important component of a successful event. So, how will Toronto 2015 go about creating a business and an economic legacy? Well, that's what we're doing today to explain to you, but let me talk about it at some high levels. First is a principle called we will be transparent. In events like today, we're creating a level playing field for all businesses of all sizes to identify and build on opportunities. And we're creating an environment which is inclusive. The games may be about sport, but they're also about culture. And our games will be a celebration of the 41 participating Pan-Am nations, all cultures and communities which live here. Toronto 2015 is committed to diversity, and we've adopted this as standard practice, as part of our day-to-day business and our policies, which reflect this commitment. This includes how we purchase goods and services, how we hire employees, and how we recruit volunteers. We want to build a coalition with local business communities here in Ontario to leverage grassroots support for the Games. And we're doing that right now. 3.5 years or 178 weeks before the Games. So there's plenty of time to plan and prepare to respond to those opportunities when they arise, and indeed they will arise. For a moment, consider the impact of $700 million of capital projects, and the $1 billion Athletes Village, the need for contractors and services and subcontractors, large and small. Imagine the possibilities associated with 10,000 athletes and officials coming to our region. Once construction is complete, venues will have to be ready for the athletes. Outfitted from ceiling to floor, athletes will need to be fed. Their coaches will need equipment. Their parents and friends will need to be entertained in true Ontario style. Everybody will need transportation. These games will generate a need for supplies, services, and sponsors of all stripes and all sizes. Think about the possibilities of over 1 million visitors and tourists to our region during the Games. And the time to start thinking about these opportunities is right now. This is how a lasting economic legacy is made. And I challenge you to be part of this with us by determining now how you can ride the Toronto 2015 wave. You and your businesses have a great opportunity to contribute to and capitalize on Toronto 2015. Your business sense and your innovative ideas and approaches will help guarantee the success of these games and ensuring that we put on a face that makes us all proud to all our visitors worldwide. So without much ado, I want to introduce Bill Zakharov, who is our procurement manager, managing how we go to market to source all the multitude of different products. Our objective here, as it will be with I.O., as it will be with Paul, is to make sure that you are armed with the information to understand what we're doing, how we're doing it, how you can get engaged to make this be as simple as possible for you to make business decisions and participate in this from an economic standpoint. We are committed to pushing this impact into small, medium businesses and the diverse community. This is part of that commitment. It is only the start of that commitment. So Bill, come on up.
So again, thanks a lot. My name's Bill Zakharov, and I'm Director of Procurement at Toronto 2015. I'm going to speak to you for 15 minutes, and I hope to clarify four primary objectives. First of all, I want to talk about what we're going to buy over the next 3.5 years, when we're going to buy it, how we're going to procure goods and services, and then most importantly, how you business people in the room can participate in these business opportunities. I'd like to start by first clarifying and just understanding the spend a bit better. As Ian has already stated, the total budget for the Games is $1.4 billion. $700 million of that is capital infrastructure, and of that, the majority, the lion's share by far, is managed by Infrastructure Ontario. So you'll hear more about that a little later, as soon as I get off the podium. The other $700 million is operating expense, and of the $700 million, around $300 to $400 million of that is constitutes procurement opportunities. The difference between the 700 and the 400 are other spends, our organizational costs, rents, venue rental cost, fees and licenses and royalties and so on. So think about between $300 and $400 million of goods and services. I'm going to take you through a couple of slides right now, all pictorial, but it'll give you a good sense of the major categories and what those products and services are. First of all, a category called overlay. We call overlay the finishing of venues to get them ready for Games time. So, for example, temporary seating, tents, portable washrooms, fencing, and furniture for the village, for example. Significant spend in overlay. And by the way, I'm giving you these as ideas because I don't know everyone in the room yet in terms of what you sell, but I'm sure I'll find out a little later. So think of, when you see these charts, just think of how that affects you and how you can take advantage of these opportunities. Hospitality and travel is going to be a significant spend with us over the next 3.5 years, primarily near the end of close to games time. We're going to be sourcing hotels, host hotels, feeding food and beverage for venues, uniforms for our more than 20,000 volunteers, community events, opening and closing ceremonies, just to name a few. Services is also a large category, pretty broad category that includes translations and interpretation services, food cafeteria to feed athletes at the village, security services, of course, transportation services, writing services. Technology is another large spend. The technology primarily it can be very specific to games, so scoring, timing, and reporting of scores in that to central hub for the dissemination of data back to the venues and reporters and so on. Networking gear is going to be a large spend with this. And then, of course, we have scoreboards and video displays. So the venues will have high definition video in most of them. And then games operations, so another broad category, but significant. This includes all of the equipment, all the sporting goods equipment, the host broadcast equipment, so television cameras, boxing rings, gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals, and of course there's a polyclinic, so there's going to be portable medical equipment, X-ray, MRI, and a host of others. So this is a high level. In no sense, by no means was this meant to be a detailed overview, but I just wanted to give you a good idea of what the goods and services that we're going to require over time. The next important question is, so when are you going to buy it? When are you buying these goods and services? As the chart shows, the closer we get to games time, the procurement activity ramps up. So starting 2013, we're planning now. So by no means, please don't wait for 2013 or 2014 to get involved. We're doing a lot of planning now, but the lion's share of the buying and contracting will take place 2013, 2014, early 2015. So I'm going to show you a little later how you can get involved now, because as you know, in the world of procurement or business, waiting to the last minute is going to ensure one thing, and that's probably going to be delays. So we're sourcing now, we're pre-qualifying suppliers, we're building our database, so when the time comes, we can effectively source. So the process, I think it's a fairly simple process, but I'll let you be the judge of that for procurement. We have think of three spend thresholds, up to $10,000, fairly informal, good comparative buying, the use of purchase orders, credit cards, etc. Between $10,000 and $100,000, we're going to do what's called an invitational request for proposal, or an invitational RFQ, request for quotations. And so who do we invite? We do market research. We do market research on the supply base. We look at your capability, your capacity. But the most important thing for you to probably take away is that you need to register with us now so that you can get into our database. So when it's time to buy translation services, for example, and it's a bad example because we just finished buying translation services, but the 7 suppliers that we're using for translation services all came out of our database of pre-registered suppliers. So it's important to get your company information into the database, and I'll show you a little later how to do that. And then, of course, the big category is over $100,000. We use an open RFP process. We use MERX, and Paul's going to talk a bit about MERX later, as an online RFP facilitator. And again, so for those last 2 categories, we're going to do 3 things. We're posting them on our website. The open tenders will be posted on MERX. We're developing our website. We're creating, I guess, a new version of our website. But what it's going to do is when you register, you can check off a box to be made aware of all tenders that come up. so that you can look at our website every day, or you can register with us, check a box off, and then you'll get an email as I update my page indicating which tenders are going to come off. So it's a neat way of staying informed and not missing out on opportunities. The procurement process, again, I think it's quite simple, but you can be the judge of that. Requirements definitions is the starting point. So it's us defining what we need, when we need it. We do supplier pre-qualification, so it's important for us to identify which suppliers are capable, have capacity, have the financial strength to stay the course with us over the next 3.5 years. And then we'll do the competitive tender. We have an assessment policy back at the organizing committee, so that not a single person assesses the response. So it's a team assessment. We do a supplier selection. We contract with you, and then we implement. Our selection is not made on price alone, although price and total cost is very important to us, and as taxpayers, it's probably pretty important to you as well. The availability of goods and services, so we need to select a supplier that can deliver. Quality of the goods and services, these are high-performance athletes that will be performing, so we need high-performance suppliers, we need good quality goods and services. Innovative solutions, capabilities, experience. Diversity is important to us, so Ian touched on diversity. My next slide, I'm going to touch a little more on supplier diversity and our program to engage and enable diverse suppliers in this region. And then finally, financial strength. So financial strength tie back to the second bullet. We select you now for something that you need to deliver in a 1.5 time or 2 years time. We just need to make sure that the businesses are financially sound, so that they can deliver at that time. Supplier diversity. So we have a procurement strategy. A big part of our strategy is around supplier diversity. We classify supplier diversity as businesses that are owned and operated 51% or more by Aboriginal people, women, individuals with multicultural heritage or visible minorities, and then individuals with disabilities. So we've classified these as diverse businesses in the regions. Our program and our strategy is to enable things like we're doing tonight, is to get out into the community, to engage the businesses, enable them to bid on opportunities. So what I mean by that is, I'll give you a good example. A lot of the diverse suppliers or diverse businesses are small to medium in size. We're going to have some fairly large requirements, but we have the ability and the capability of taking large requirements and piecing them out into smaller pieces so that smaller businesses can bid on them, and that's an exercise that we're going to do. The other thing that we're promoting is we will have larger companies as partners, as suppliers, and we want to encourage a partnership between small, diverse supplier and large supplier, so tier 1, tier 2 relationship. And that relationship, once forged, will last beyond the game. So that's one of our legacy requirements, is to build supplier capacity in this sector, so that it lasts and sustains far beyond our cycle. So please, I can talk more about this later if you wanted to see me. In summary, we're open for business now, so please register with us. I can talk to you individually later on, inform you what we're buying over the next quarter. We're ramping up in 2013. So doing business in our backyard simply means I have a strategy to buy in the area, primarily to buy in the areas that are hosting the games. So the Greater Golden Horseshoe. If we need to, then we go out to the rest of Ontario, the rest of Canada, and then we'll go internationally. There are just certain things and categories that don't lend themselves to North American suppliers, but I can say that up to now, 95+% of what we bought over the last 1.5 years have been from local businesses. And it's time to market your business. So if that's a takeaway, some homework for you, please start marketing your business with us. And here's how. We have a website. I believe the tab has changed since I updated this chart. It is called, help me out, Getting Involved. So there's a tab called Getting Involved. Inside that tab, there's a Business Opportunities sub-tab, and then there's a form in there for you to complete and just submit. And that, I just get that data, we put it into a database, and that's what I use to search on when I'm buying goods and services. And you see our website. And last but not least, seek out partners. Paul's going to talk a bit later on Mercs in terms of how you can use Mercs for seeking out larger companies to partner with for certain goods and services. And I'm going to end with I hate stealing Paul's thunder on Mercs, but please use Mercs. There's a lot of value for no money at all. And today you can go onto Mercs, you can do a search on Toronto 2015, and you can see the business opportunities that we have open at any time. I can't promise you that there's any today. Keep looking, because as we ramp up, there will be a lot of business opportunities, RFPs on that site. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to John McKendrick at Infrastructure Ontario.
So I'm from an organization called Infrastructure Ontario, which is a Crown agency for the province of Ontario. We report into the Minister of Infrastructure. His name is the Honourable Bob Chiarelli. And so we're involved, we are responsible for building the major venues for the Pan American and Pan Parapan Games. And just before I go on, I just wanted to make a little plug here for Centennial College, because one of our founding senior executives at Infrastructure Ontario is a graduate of the Architectural Technology program here at Centennial College, and is probably the smartest construction guy I've ever met in my life. And he left our organization and is now president of the Central and Eastern Canada for PCL, which is the largest construction company in Canada. So thank you very much, Centennial College, for helping us. So we are responsible for delivering all the major infrastructure projects for the province: hospitals, courthouses, data centers, highways now, and now we're into the Pan American Games, which is very exciting. And I think it's something like 50, I'm just going to skip through some of this stuff, which I think will be a bit boring for you. Here's some numbers: more than 50 projects since 2005, worth more than $23 billion. And we've listed some of the projects. Anyway, the point is we've built a lot of infrastructure, and it's come in on time and on budget. And so we hope to apply that expertise to the Pan American Games. And it's, I think even when we've got 50 projects there, but we've actually completed 18 of them on time and on budget. So it's not just that we've launched them, but that we've completed them as well. And the one thing I'll say is all of our projects are privately financed. We hand over more of the work to the private sector, because we believe they are better at doing it than typical government is. So we don't actually fund the projects ourselves. We have banks lend money into the projects, and that creates more discipline in the projects. We have the contractors actually design the buildings, as opposed to hiring an architect first, designing it ourselves, and then doing it that way. We find we get it more efficient, and we're more likely to get on time, on budget delivery. But let's go on to the specifics of the Pan American Games. So we've been mandated to get involved, in part because we are guaranteeing the deficit for the games. We are doing most of the $700 million in capital build that Bill just talked about. And we're involved in all stages of it from the very beginning, the pre-transaction advice and analysis. That would be doing things like due diligence, going to a site, doing geotechnical testing, making sure you understand what's in the site before you start to build, creating all the documentation. We lead the procurement process. So we would prepare and manage the RFQ, that's request for qualifications. We would then, what we typically do is we shortlist down to 3 bidders. And by the way, I need to say the request for qualifications is posted on Merck's, which Paul is going to talk about. That's the best, most fairest way to do it. Then we shortlist down to 3 bidders for their request for proposals process. And then we go through a 6-month request for proposals process. We evaluate the bids. We select a preferred proponent. Then we negotiate with them to get to closing of the contract, sign the contract, get it under construction, and then we manage the construction and deliver the project on time and on budget. So just a bit more detail here. You know, I was mentioning earlier, we use private sector financing. We don't fund it ourselves. We find when you get a private sector lender involved in this, you get a lot more due diligence because the private sector lender wants to get their money back and they don't want to back a project that's going to fail. So they make sure the due diligence is done. They will not lend money into a project that is poorly planned. That is our experience. We have never failed to make sure that a lender gets repaid on time because the projects come in on time, and that is in part because they do also a lot of due diligence. They are involved during the RFP open period. They raise a lot of questions, which is what we want them to do because you'd rather have those questions raised during the open RFP period, not when you're in construction, not when you're in the ground, when you're going to have a lot more problems. And when you've only got one bidder then, and effectively you're negotiating with a monopolistic circumstance as opposed to getting it out on the table when you have 3 bidders and lots of competition. So we have 3 approaches we use: design, build, finance, maintain, design, build, finance, and build finance. For this one, we are using design, build, finance. So what does that mean? I mentioned earlier that you have the typical traditional way is you hire an architect, then you bid it out to 3 bidders, they give you prices on the design, they send in the bids. What instead we do is we create output specifications or performance specifications, tell them generally what we want, and then we pre-qualify 3 teams, and so the teams go off and they, based on the output specifications, you get 3 different designs. So I'm personally quite heavily involved in the stadium, the velodrome, and the stadium in Hamilton, the stadium up in York University, and the velodrome. And I've been to some of the meetings, and you see 3 completely different designs. You wouldn't normally get that, and so you'll often get 3 completely different prices because you've got 3 different designs. And the good thing is they know they want to win, so they're thinking about how to create the design in a way that's more efficient. And then once you get their bids in, the good thing is what we find is a lot of change orders in construction are caused by the fact that the design is not perfect, or there's a problem with the design, or doesn't match up here, doesn't match up there. And because they have designed it, that's all their problem. And we say, we don't care if it doesn't fit right here, because that's your problem because you designed it. Go away and fix it. And you have a better chance of no change orders in a project, or very few change orders in a project, when you leave it up to the bidders to design themselves. They also have to arrange the financing, as I said, and that motivates on time and on budget delivery. So this is just kind of a view over the province where most of our projects are. We've got a bit of a Toronto. You see, we don't have enough out in Scarborough, but I'm going to talk about that in a second. So here's the major infrastructure builds that we've got. The University of Toronto Aquatic Centre, Fieldhouse and Canadian Sport Institute for Ontario. That is going here in Scarborough at the University of Toronto campus. And that is, I'm pleased to say the bids closed on that last week. We have 3 bids in. They've submitted 3 different designs. I'll go into that in a few seconds. Just before, I want to digress a bit because you're all interested in understanding how you can participate in this process. The one thing I need to say about construction is that there are very long lead times. We had to get started in this early if we were going to get these venues built the summer of 2014, which is a whole year ahead of when the games are going to occur. And so we've started some time ago. When you looked at Bill's spend curve, yeah, our spend has not started yet, but we're a long ways along in our procurement. So we've already issued our request for qualifications. Those have closed in most of our venues. We've already selected 3 shortlisted bidders in most of our cases. And the way construction typically works, when you select a bidder, there's the general contractors at the top is probably spending 15% of the money, and then they manage And they're really managers, they're brokers, they manage and control all the sub-trades that are bidding on it. And when they submit their bids, I suspect, I'm going by rough numbers here, they've probably selected, half of their subcontractors, but they haven't selected them all. And we will not get personally involved in how they select their subcontractors, they do it. But we'll talk a bit more about how there's possibilities and opportunities for you there. And they still have to select those subcontractors, and they will start to do that, probably starting this summer and moving over this next 6 months beyond that. So anyway, so you have to think about that aspect of it. Just going down the list here, we got the first one I talked about. The Hamilton Football Stadium is a replacement for the Ivor Wynne Stadium in Hamilton. York University Athletic Stadium for track and field. The Velodrome, which I'm pleased to say that we now have a site for a velodrome, which is Milton, and that was a major issue for us, but we're pleased that's done. And then the Markham Aquatic Center and Field Hockey Center at University of Toronto and the Etobicoke Olympium. The RFP for that, the bidders have been shortlisted, and the RFP for that is coming out next month. So just to get into a bit more detail here, as Ian mentioned earlier, we've got the Athletes Village, design, build, finance. You see I've written there contract cost $514 million. Ian was mentioning earlier it's about $1 billion. This is just a contract with the consortia who won that contract. There's much more spend around that. Bill talked about cafeteria. There's a cleanup of the site. There's a whole bunch of other money. That is just that particular contract cost. The construction has started. We closed and signed the contract back in December, just before Christmas. And the winning bidder on that is a company called Dundee Kilmer. And they have hired 2 contractors, Ellis Don, which is one of Canada's largest contractors, and Ledcor Construction as well. Just a high level, it will serve as the home away from home for 8,000 athletes. Here's some of the highlights of the scope. A new residential neighborhood. That is after it is finished with the Parapan-Am Games. We will have people move in there on a legacy basis, which is an important aspect of the games. Construction of the roads and services such as sewers, the village, 2,000 units for the athletes, for the 8,000 athletes, George Brown College residence, YMCA facility, and it's going to be an environmentally sustainable community. Some more information. This is the project where the RFP closed. You can see it there, January 31st. We have 3 shortlisted bidders who have submitted their bids, including their designs. We have Lang O'Rourke and Bonfield Construction. We have Hunt and Urbicon Construction. And we have PCL, who, of course, is the president, is a graduate of Centennial College. So here's some of the scope there. The Aquatic Center, the pools, the diving tank, seating capacity of 6,000, the field house, 200-meter indoor running track, and it's going to be a high-performance center for sports science. The next one we've bid out, this is an RFP we have bid out as 3 projects within one RFP. The RFP was issued in September 21st. It's design, build, finance. You can see the first one is the Ivor Wynne redevelopment. It's going to have 22,500 seats, including 12,500 temporary seats. It will meet the Canadian Football League's and the Federation of International Football Associations specifications. The athletic stadium at York University, that will have 12,500 seats, 5,000 permanent, 7,500 temporary. It will have a 400-meter International Amateur Athletic Federation running track and all the areas for throwing and jumping events. And then the third one, which I mentioned, we just located a site for that, and we are pleased and relieved because we thought it was going to go in Hamilton, and then we had some issues there, but we're done, and we think we're good on that. That's the Velodrome. It's going to have capacity for 2,250 seats, 1,500 permanent, 750 temporary. The cycling track is 250 meters. It's very steep, very banked. That is the way they create them. And it is will meet UCI specs. UCI stands for Union Cycliste International. This is the international federation that monitors this, and it will be the national training center for Cycle Canada. Swimming and field hockey venues. The shortlisted bidders were announced just before Christmas. Again, it's PCL. is one of them, Ellis Dawn and Bondfield Construction. The RFP will be released, I believe, in early March, and it includes the Markham Pool and Fieldhouse, the Etobicoke Olympium Pool, and the Pan-Am Field Hockey Center at University of Toronto downtown. Anyway, we are well on our way on these projects. There have been some issues raised about timing. We will have those ready in the summer of 2014, well in advance of the games. We will be following public procurement rules. We have already, as I said before, most of this is already done because we had to get started early. When we released our request for qualifications, they were listed on MERCS, and if you want more details on some of the sub-players within the teams that I've mentioned, you can go to our website and you can get all the details there. There are tabs there for all those projects, and they can tell you who some of the subcontractors are already. Just on the last, we'll go into a bit more detail on the procurement. All bidders are required to identify in their proposals ways in which they will involve local and diverse business owners, contractors, and suppliers in a project. These plans will be reviewed by us at Infrastructure Ontario as well as Toronto 2015 to ensure a level playing field. And the winning consortia, as I said, they're responsible for assembling their teams and their subcontractors and suppliers. We will be arranging networking sessions with small to mid-sized companies to help them connect with key people. This is still to happen. It won't happen until we actually select some of the winning bidders. It will start very soon on the village. And then, as I mentioned earlier, we love MERCS. MERCS is the way to go. And with that, I think I'm going to turn it over to Paul. He can talk to you about the advantages of using MERCS.
Brief overview on what MERCS is. Actually, we've been in business for over 14 years, and essentially, it's a portal on the internet that consolidates a lot of tender opportunities from places like the Government of Canada, Government of Ontario, certainly Infrastructure Ontario and Toronto 2015. But there are 3,500 organizations and growing in Canada that are publishing to this internet portal. And for buyers, organizations that are buying, it's a great opportunity to say, okay, we're open, we're going to be fair, we're going to be transparent. And for the 64,000, it's actually about 66,000 suppliers now, why are they coming here and why are they signing up? The reality is, it's a great opportunity to look at thousands of opportunities and consolidate that and find essentially marketing leads, okay, and market research information. So if you're a small or medium-sized enterprise, this is a great resource for you to look for business opportunities. So one of the things is opportunity matching is a really good feature within the MERCS system. So if you're selling uniforms, or you're selling marketing communication services, or you're selling cleaning services, you set up your profile within MERCS and you say, okay, I am looking for commercial cleaning opportunities in the GTA area. And I set up that profile. Every morning you will get those opportunities come to your inbox and they'll say, okay, here's one in Scarborough, here's one with Toronto 2015, here's one with whatever organization. It's leads just coming to you on an ongoing basis. So there are perceptions of electronic tendering I want to go through. The first one is that it's not really transparent. Well, let's look at Toronto 2015. I mean, Bill's gone through some of the numbers. It's going to do over $1 billion in spend. Toronto 2015 has no incumbent suppliers. They don't have a legacy here. It's not like they've been dealing with a bunch of suppliers over the years. New organization, right up to 2015, you saw what the spend is going to be. They're looking for suppliers, reliable, good quality suppliers. It's open. It's a great opportunity for everybody in this room to take advantage of that opportunity. Second, it's only for large companies. In fact, the number of suppliers that are Merck's, it's around 66,000 now. It's growing by 500 suppliers a month, okay? So we just keep seeing it grow, and in fact, in the last 12 months, we've added about 7,000 suppliers. Every month, more and more. Why? There's only really a few hundred really large organizations in Canada. So most of those suppliers are small, most of them are, in fact, less than 10 people. They're there to do market research at a very reasonable price, and they're there to find business opportunities. Another perception is that organizations usually pick the winner prior to being published. In fact, it's just not true. In fact, a lot of these organizations in Canada, in fact, if they're publishing the Merck's, it's for a reason. They're actually looking to be open and fair and transparent because we actually take control of that publishing process. They're committing to doing it, and they're saying, okay, Merck's, you take that process and follow it through. They can't, it's open throughout the whole time. So, there's a company I worked with, and it was basically a husband and wife team. They're just outside of Peterborough, and he wanted to build a office furniture business. So they didn't have any money. They were working out of the garage, and he said, I don't have any money for marketing. I can't really, long lead cycles and stuff. So his idea was, okay, I'm going to use Merck's. 5 o'clock in the morning, he said, I'm a morning guy. I'm going to look for office furniture opportunities. So he'd find an opportunity, and he said, I'm not going to make the sales calls, but I will go to those bidders meetings. So if they had a bidders meeting, he'd go to the bidders meeting, and he'd size up what was going on at the bidders meeting. Who are his competitors going to be? He was watching, not necessarily the people that were, but he was watching the crowd. So he'd size up. Then he'd go back to Merck's, and he'd say, okay, let's look at, he said, okay, I know I'm going to be competing against these three are definitely in the running. I'm going to go find out the awards in the past to those three suppliers. So we wanted to find out what their pricing model was, how they priced it, and what it was that they won in the past, how they priced it out. So when he bid something, he had a pretty good idea who the competition was, he had a pretty good idea what the pricing model is, and wanted to win business. In 5 years, over $10 million in revenue, doing extremely well, opening more offices and growing the business. Never made a sales call. Now, that's not to say that you don't want to make a sales call and bill. It's always a good idea. This is interesting. Many small businesses are not equipped to respond properly to tenders. We see this all the time. A lot of highly qualified suppliers do poorly, and they say, it wasn't open, and no, the response was poor. A lot of grammatical errors, Organizations like Toronto 2015, Infrastructure Ontario, they're looking for a professional response. And to do a professional response means you take care. Certainly the pricing is important. Also the quality of the tender. The tender bid yourself is very important. So important, get it reviewed. Associations like this association can help you. There's lots of people in this room that can help you with it. Seek out help. And please get those tenders in on time. When Bill or John say that tender is closing tomorrow at 2 o'clock, they don't mean 2:01. 2 o'clock. It is not fair, open, and transparent if they accept bids or late bids, because those that got in on time, it's not fair to them. 2 o'clock means 2 o'clock. And so many organizations have missed opportunities because they're a couple minutes late. And, the reality is 2 o'clock closing time is 2 o'clock closing time. There's lots of different opportunities, Toronto 2015 opportunities on Merck's. It's really easy to find those Toronto 2015 or infrastructure opportunities, search example, just go into search, type it in, it'll come up.
Emphasize private versus public on that.
So there's, you have to be, on Merck's, to be a public organization, the definition is that you are a government entity, essentially, or you're purely a government entity. For Toronto 15, they have a different mandate, and so we put them into this bucket called private, as is Infrastructure Ontario, in a way, because they're an agency, a Crown agency. Was it Crown agency pure public or not? And so we do separate them out. We separate out the Canadian public tenders from the private, from U.S. tenders, and then private construction, which is pure private opportunities, the construction field. So I do encourage you, sign up for Merck's, the price is right, and set up an opportunity matching profile. It is well worth it. Review the document request list. So there's something called a DRL, and because it's a very open system, you can see everybody who's taken those documents. So what that allows you to do, if there is an opportunity and you're selling uniforms, everybody who downloads that tender opportunity for uniforms, you're going to have the opportunity to see who that is. Now, one thing that tells you is, okay, here's my competition. The other thing that tells you, these may be potential partners for you on that tender opportunity. And it's great to partner because it's open and so-and-so at this organization has downloaded, well, I can partner with them. I'm going to get on the phone and contact them, or send them an email, contact them and say, I can add some real value to this bid for you. So the DRL is published at the time prior to closing of that tender opportunity. So it's a great opportunity. The other thing is we do hold free webinars. If you don't know how to use it, it's a kind of a lunch and learn. You can see it on the events page on mercs.com. And if you need any assistance, there's a 1-800 number. So encourage you. Price is right. It's open, fair. There's a ton of great market research you can do, and there's lots of opportunities. So with that, I think it's a Q&A session is next that.
Give a little background. I was managing the officials for the Olympics in Montreal and the Commonwealth Games in Edmonton. Currently, I'm a professor in entrepreneurship and marketing at Seneca College, and I used to be at Centennial College as well. So my question is, on behalf of the students, what is the process for employment and volunteering?
Like, you want to talk about volunteering is really going to start in 13 more than now, although we are always open for inquiries as we go forward. We have talked about internships as something that's a possibility for us. And we're actively engaging with the various community colleges too. So I'd say for the bulk of our volunteer hiring is going to happen. The process starts at 13. The hiring, although it's volunteers, is in 14 with training and then getting ready for 15. Anything you want to add, Elaine?
What about employee situations?
In terms of employment opportunities, we'll have the 400 employees in total games time. A lot of those employees will come on board for students and at the level that students would apply. In the 13, 14, 15 time frame, we will have opportunities for internships and as well.
What's the process?
The process would be to apply online on our website, and at the same tab, it's getting involved, and there's employment opportunities, there's a tab for volunteer opportunities, and then there's the business opportunities. Sign online, send through a resume, and then it's all coming in, and then it all gets assessed and we look at it.
Yes. Anything, 10th to 26th is the Pan Games, and then you have a 11-day gap, and August 7th to 7 days, 14th, 15th is when the Parapan Games happen, which is for those who have some physical disabilities. 2015, of course, yeah. Yes?
My name is Dr. Jim Feng, the clinic director at Performance Function. We're a sports medicine clinic located in Markham, but we also have a network of practitioners throughout Ontario that perform on-site medical services. I'm just wondering, what are some of the opportunities in the medical field, and where are some of the major venues that's going to be performed?
Well, in fact, we've hired our chief medical officer, Dr. Julia Lang. She had a meeting actually last week where we actually were reaching into the doctors to sign up. So you're right on time, and she'll be the person coordinating, and we'll have on-site support in all the venues, on-site support, and a clinic in the village, and so there's lots of opportunities at many levels, whether it be doctors or physio or massage therapy, all those other infrastructure to support the athletes.
She's at the women's college, right? That's the...
Yeah. And if you want, we can get to her email address with us.
I can connect you with her.
Yes. Other questions? Yes.
About the content on the website, you mentioned about it's good for us to check the posting every day. And also we got an excellent slide showing by what time, most likely what kind of requirement will be available. And possibility in the website you list a schedule as well as the material or requirement you will be supposed. Some small business may want to team up with the catering. So would it be when will you be offering the catering posting? Some small business may want the team to supply the uniform. It would be 2014 spring.
So give some specific timings for report.
Yeah, anticipation by the material or by industry. So small business can team up for a benefit.
Yeah, well, one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to smooth. You see that ramp? That means that Bill's going to be white-haired by the time he's finished. Well, it's already pretty stressful, right? So we are trying to pull forward some of these things so we can smooth out that. So that's a good idea. Any question? Yes?
I'm pleased to hear that you guys have a strong focus in diversity. I knew that all the building is about LEED Gold standard. So is there a focus about environmentally friendly or green practices in terms of your suppliers? Is there a slant or focus, say using non-toxic cleaning supply or organic cotton in uniform as such?
That's a great question. I don't think I've got one of those questions before. Do you have any specific yet on suppliers and sustainability?
We have a sustainability consultant that just on contract that just came on board, and she's going to help me create some specifics around sustainability, environmental friendly products. So that will be the next version of our RFP going up.
And this woman was one of the leaders in sustainability for Vancouver, which did a fabulous job in sustainability. So folks who's got great experience. Yes.
There's many organizations with a diverse suppliers such as WeConnect where you're certified. Is there any difference between being a certified diverse supplier versus not being certified in your acceptance?
So that's a good question. What I failed to mention during my part is that I formed a supplier diversity advisory council. Mary Anderson from WeConnect sits on that council, as do other organizations that support diverse businesses. We rely on their certification right now. We're going to move too fast, and we're not as large as we need to be to do our own validations and certifications. So the short answer is no. We're not paying too much attention to the validation of certifications. There's too many suppliers. We're moving too quick. We're just not big enough to validate that. So we're really going on the honor system. If you say you're certified for your diverse business, as well as our council members will be there if we need to pass and help validate.
Yes.
Yeah, hi. It's Chris Colucci with Clean For Me, and I'm just curious about the strategy. We've got a lot of, we'll say, real estate here from Hamilton across the city. And are you going to be breaking things down site by site, discipline by discipline, Or are you looking at finding a full coverage across all those sites?
It depends by thing. I mean, Bill talked about it a little bit from a procurement standpoint. Certainly, if you look at volunteers, we're breaking it modularly so that we, you know, when you think about Welland or St. Catharines or even Hamilton, you want to have source volunteers from that region to stop them from driving all over the place. So there will be a modular approach where it makes sense. You know, I think it's a question of scale versus targeting, and that will be, I think, a supply issue by material by material.
Yeah, and right now, our strategy is getting, you know, getting the best deal for our taxpayers' money. But we think that on an individual venue basis, there's going to be enough scale there to get as good deal as we're going to get. So our strategy will be that we will be typically contracting out at the local, regional level for certain services.
Got it. Thank you, Bill.
Okay, may I introduce, restrict the time? May I invite 2 more questions for Q&A, and I think our speaker will be pleased to stay behind for individual questions.
Hi, my name is Don Goodell. I'm manager of entrepreneurship at Services. I was interested in hearing more about what you have to do with young people that get into business and have an opportunity to go on Mercs and actually promote their business throughout. We have an entrepreneurship conference every year called the New Business Movement, and we'd love to get some speakers out to address issues like that. Speak with them. Okay. So in Canada, under 30 is considered youth. I can assure you that I don't fall like that. Under 48. I don't fall in that category either. So I was just interested in what your mandate is for young people that are starting out a small business. But we have a youth focus in general. We're certainly spending a lot of time getting out to either high schools to talk to those youth which are younger than that, to make sure we have athletes talk to them to help them think about their life differently and inspire them. From a youth focus standpoint, that's a great question. We'd be certainly open to talk to those groups and be able to give them the information they need to be able to jump in and participate. Great. Yeah, thank you.
One last question?
I'll make one comment. I'll come back to you in a second. We've been to about 20 of these, and one of the things that comes out consistently is people go, oh my goodness, what's an RFP? Oh my goodness, how do I get on Mercs? There's a number of technical elements that tend to be flushed out as we talk, and they're not meant to be intimidating. They are meant to be disciplined. And what we found is that chambers actually see this as an opportunity to add more value after the meetings by helping demystify some of these things we're talking about so that, you know, it's really a coaching and training opportunity following up from this. So if you're feeling like that, you're not alone. I think that almost every one of these chamber presentations, it has come out eventually like, oh, I've never done an RFP. How do I do that? Or how do I apply to Mercs? Or what's a proposal? Or, you know, how do I sign on? These are all, I think, real opportunities going forward for you. And treat it like that. Question?
Hi, my name is Constance. My company specializes in beautification, decoration, and actually we talked about major spending in overlay hospitality, and for new project, a new idea, who should I talk to? Like things that have never been done before, or like that you have made new project or no major investment?
I think that's something which you would, you know, register with Bill, and it's an email. I mean, I think, you know, we're open for business, and our emails are available, and we'll get a card. And if people have innovative ideas, we're open to discussing those and seeing if they have an application.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks very much. Okay.
One more quick one. We're from about 15 different associations for our engagement community. How do we assist you to promote the volunteerism, employment opportunities, and just the games in total? We're going to keep us involved and keep us in the loop. How else can we help you do your job?
Well, that's a very nice question. I think one thing would be make sure we get your cards. We have a number of regular news updates we're putting out now. We've got one that went out yesterday, 2 days ago, to 450 people on the mailing list. We're going to keep building that out, which lets people see what's going on and the progress that's being made. I mean, the website will be having information out there as well. So from an information standpoint, get your card so we can plug you into our normal communications system.
Maybe I can address the employment. So we send out also from the employment side and the volunteer side, all of our jobs and all of our volunteer opportunities will be posted on our website. So every time we have a new job opening up, it's posted on the website. We also have quite a large network of organizations that we send our postings out to. So I think of about 15, 20 organizations that are hubs or networks for other organizations that go out very, very broadly. If you please do pass along your card to me, I'll pass along to our recruiting team. They'll make sure that your organization gets listed on the distribution of those postings, and then people reply directly. The same thing will happen also for the volunteers. That recruitment will not really start in earnest until the spring of 2014.
On the getting the word out, we spend a lot of time talking like this. If you feel that we've spoken to George Brown a couple of times. I'm out once, twice a week speaking to groups. So if there's people here who feel there's a collection of individuals, or a group you're part of that would like to understand this, that's how we build credible interest, is in walking through. We got more materials than we shared today, but what are these games about? Why are they important? Why I should care? And then how do I get involved? And so, that's a big part of our job, is to ignite that interest. And that's a job that won't stop until probably September 2015. So if you have that collection of group, anybody, please let us know. And some groups will, bigger the group, more relevant the group, fantastic. But please put your hand up and say, we really think there's an opportunity. Okay, this is one of the things we didn't come to it exactly, but think about this as our opportunity to shine as a community of Ontario, which means I want you to feel like these are your games as much as I feel they're my games, which means we need to give you an opportunity to get engaged and help us with it. So, these sessions are part of those building the bricks that create a great event in 2015. So we're very